what a race she had here last weekend. Back-to-back rounds here in Araxá. Of course, getting things rolling in 2025. My name's Rick McLaughlin. Joining me in the booth all day, I'm proud to say, my good friend and colleague, Mr. Ollie Beckinsale. Ollie, it is, even by hot standards, getting very hot out there.
I think these under-23 women have lucked out a little bit starting early on. It was going to warm up. I think by the time we get to elite men at the end of the day, it's going to be absolutely red hot. Well,
Flores Garcia racing as near as she'll get to her home round here, the Mexican. Oda La Force, the Norwegian national jersey on, heads to the front row. La Force, one of those names kind of emerging. I don't want to say as a force in 2025, but really this is a new generation, isn't it? Marin Low from Canada for Live Factory Racing heads to the front row. Ollie, you know, we've seen the big hitters from the under-23s really move up into elites last season. And we're left with this new gen of rider.
It always takes a little while, yeah, to work out who's strong, who's come through. Obviously, it's about a Homrren and the McLean Howell kind of standout riders from last year, but there's a mix-up of juniors coming through. And also as well, when we go to Nova Mesto for round 3, we'll have another influx of riders, especially in the U23s. There's less of a budget to travel, so the factory teams come here and the American riders, but we'll have some other European names to keep an eye on.
Yeah, McLean Howell, the British national champions jersey there on the front row. This woman, Katarina Sadnek, had a really good short track race yesterday, joining them on the front row. Sadnek.
Yeah, good short track as well last week, second position.
One of their new signings this off-season, Valentina Corvy, heads to the front row, the Italian. Yeah, it's becoming one of the hardest tricks in mountain biking, really, isn't it? The cross-country short track and cross-country Olympic double. It's no easy feat.
No, and you see sometimes the short track courses vary massively. You've got a course like here where you do have a hit in a climb where someone like Isabella Homrren can attack, but you have somewhere, Val de Soleil, Nova Mesto, a little faster and flatter, a bit more team tactics, so really different from the Saturday to the Sunday racing.
Isabella Homrren takes to the front row. And this woman on your screen now, the reigning UCI world champion, is going for undefeated status today at the start of 2025. She's won all 3 races so far here in Brazil. Can she make it 4 on the bounce? You'd be a brave man to bet against her.
Yeah, we saw Kira Bomb do it last year, but then Isabella Homrren came flying in at Nova Mesto, took the other 23s by storm.
Yep. So anything is possible, especially when that comes to under-23 cross-country racing. We're getting ready to go under starters orders here in Araxá. There's the Grand Hotel. It's been our home for the last 2 weeks. It's 23 degrees Celsius. Feels warmer than that out there to my internal Northern Irish thermometer. But humidity 69% today, so kind of the worst combination of both. Well, depending how you look at it, if you're going to race a bike. As they get ready for the lights to turn red. And they are off and racing in Araxá. A busy day of UCI cross-country Olympic World Cup racing gets underway. And it's a strong start from the force of the number 8 bike straight through the middle, Ollie.
Yeah, Corvy getting a good start as well. See Olivia Nesti in the French champs top. She's one to keep an eye on. She had a better short track yesterday, but once it's going to come up from the back.
This is a track that will suit on Nesti, won't it? That's full gas attack. Early doors here. Let's see what the pack make of it. Corvy, as ever, the combative Italian, decides to take pursuit on.
Yeah, the local warrior Flores, the Brazilian. But that's a punchy move for the start of this race.
Extremely punchy at the start of a very long, very, very hot race, but will give her good positioning on track for whenever we hit the climbs.
Yeah, 32 riders in this race, so Obviously, so much stress as we're going to find the elite races yesterday. We're into the kind of 80s or 100 riders.
Isabella Homrren just juggled back a few spots there.
A new course, obviously, for this weekend, and it's the big change. So we're going to start the short track climb. Previously, last week, went straight on into a more techie climb. This one is that steep section up, and this is how we did the short track, but instead of at the top turning right, going into the rocks to descend back to the start-finish, we just keep on climbing, and it's so savage. It's big steps all the way up.
Flores Garcia, Mexican, heading up the climb now. So we need to talk as well. Alan McLean-Hines, second place there. They have done such a good job of reshuffling this track compared to round one.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how they were going to do it. I couldn't quite get my head around what they were going to do, but I think it's an amazing job. So we're talking, it's a false flat up from here, and then we're into a long climb. And what they've done a really good job of is, in the Sunday race from last week, the course one, you had a lot of descent, big berm, and carried speed in some steep climbs. Whereas here, you just do it with no momentum. So this is a classic. We came down from the Redbull Energy last week, big berm. The riders were getting halfway up this climb before they really had to pedal. Here, they're doing it from, a couple of miles an hour, so it's such a harder climb. It looks completely different, even though it's the same bit of track. Still Flores Garcia as well. Amazing start. Probably a bit of local motivation wanting to lead this first lap, but it's a punchy move to go out this fast. Ella McLean-Howell second. You see Corvy just coming up on the outside in the Italian champ top.
Yeah, do you think this is perhaps a repeatable model that we might see in UCI World Cup racing going forward? Because it's so clever, as you say. So many of the elements of this track are recognisable from last weekend, but the actual circuit completely different. And I said to Josh Carlson on the Beeline show yesterday that with my average mountain biker's hat on, as we see a replay of the start, watch the Norwegian in the middle of your screen here. LaForce just manages to just tap the power on and get herself off to a slight angle to cover off to her left-hand side. Whoa!
Yeah, it was Marin Low just getting flicked there a little bit, lucky not to go down. We saw a couple of crashes last week in U23 and in the elites, but
the French national title champion's jersey on her back, very quite deep in that one as well, as they head into the descent for the first time.
So this is one long climb, and this is the only descent. It's just a tiny little drop down, big berm, and then we kick up, and it's the last section of last week's Redbull Energy.
There you go.
Super steep.
Really steep up through here. Yeah, as I was saying, with my average mountain bike rider's hat on, I'd love to have ridden a lap of last week's course. This week's one, markedly less, so this is a tough endeavour.
Super tough. We've got steep climb, little rolling section, then we come round, and it's really techie climb. There's 2 laps, but help the rocks, and I think if you're in a group at all, you're going to find life hard work. But we see Olivia Nesti as well, one to keep an eye on today. Really good climb, had a poor round one for her standards, but I think she'll be flying through today.
But this kind of adds to what we're saying, doesn't it? In the Onesti, really an out-and-out climber in the classic French mould. And look at this really technical little knuckle.
So steep techie climb, then this kind of false flat. It's not really a false flat, 4 or 5%, drags all the way to the top. And this is now the top point of the circuit. And then we hit a new descent. This was the climb from round one.
Tyler Jacobs leading them out for the first time at a UCI World Cup, the South African, riding for Live Factory Racing. Then it's Ella McLean-Howell, Flores Garcia still hanging in there in third.
And this is fast through here.
This is full chat down here, yeah, for the Red Bull Energy Zone. And that's what's Josh Carlson said it in his course preview with Adrian Boishy earlier in the week, that you can walk around it and kind of mistakenly think that it's not that technical a course, but it's one of those classic cases of speed brings the technicality. That's where it's difficult.
Yeah, and we see it's not as technical as last week. That's the difference. So if you compare it to other circuits, I think let's say Leger, for example.
Ella McLean-Howell there looks like a smile plastered all over her face as she gets that climb dispatched. There is the UCI World Champion, Isabella Homrren, and she's brought Olivia Onesti with her, so these two could well duke it out in this one, yeah.
If think U23 Worlds last year up in Palau and Andorra. They were the 1-2 in this category, so they've stayed in the class. They're both pure climbers, especially in SD.
Homrren came up to race Elite UCI Worlds last season.
That situation where the thunderstorms were coming, so they made a call to mix elites with under 23s rather than separate races.
That's what it was. You know, I couldn't even get it straight in my own head as to why she did it, and then got a jersey out of it. But so that is right.
They mixed. It was a one-off. They mixed the two categories together,
and she
fifth.
Yeah,
off the top of my head.
By no means disgraced herself in that race. So.
And SD also did a great race as well, but Homrren in another category that day.
I mean, we've seen various athletes come up early in cross-country racing, notably Yolanda Neff sticks in my mind, Puck Peterson, as well as they head into the first tech feed zone. There's a risk there as well, isn't there, for young riders, that they can go up too early? And
yeah, I think so. It seems that riders are kind of reaching peak earlier now. I mean, teams are now really almost talent spotting. They're working around, they're working with feeder teams now. It's starting to get, well, it's not quite as organised as football, but we're getting to that point where they're having approved feeder teams to place riders, to catch them early from juniors, put them in an under-23 team that has a link through. And
that is one of the big changes that we've seen this off-season, the new team structure really rewarding teams investing in all formats, not just, you know, top-flight elites, and something that is hopefully going to be a real positive for the sport in the longer run is these young riders getting experience, not just and support on factory teams, but also being around older, more established pros, more experience.
I mean, someone like Isabella Holmgren, she's not just on the Trek factory mountain bike, she's on the Little Trek road squad, and kind of mixes up between the two, a true multidiscipline rider. And like, she's here with the Oscar Size, skills coach and manager of the team. She's going to be wrecking the course with Evie Richards. And that's when you see her technical skills. That was, I think, last year. Her climbing was no doubt, but her technical got caught out. And we saw at Mont Saint Anne last year, being over the bars on a section, just wasn't too happy on the course and didn't finish that race, but it's gone away in the off-season. And the big impressive thing is how much her descending has improved in her tech skills, hammering out all the A-lines on this course.
It's really noticeable, isn't it? And then if you compare her to the list of names that have retooled and done that, you're talking about Loane Lecomte.
Yeah.
You know,
even Evie Richards herself.
Yeah.
Had to go away. Worked with Katie Curd down in the Forest of Dean, absolutely smashing out the tech stuff, and now she's one of the best skills riders. There was a time not that long ago where she was struggling a little bit compared to some of her compatriots.
So Tyler Jacobs leads them here towards the end of lap 1 out of 7 here in Araxá. Jacobs 6th in the short track at round 1, and then 6th in the cross-country Olympic distance at round 1 as well. So promising signs for the Live factory race in South Africa.
Again, short, fast circuit, 7 laps to do today. They're going to be round in roughly 10 minutes or so, so just over the hour mark total. I think that's going to be enough in this heat today. And I say the one thing you mentioned before the start was the humidity. That makes such a difference. You're pouring water on yourself, and it doesn't evaporate as easily or as quickly, and it's so much harder to cool down.
As the leading pack at the front of the under-23 women's race, the UCI Cross Country Olympic World Cup heads round to finish lap 1 out of 7 at South Africa's Tyler Jacobs, who leads them. Full day of racing here from Araxá in Brazil.
You see now the difference between that front group. Olivia Nesti was just on, she was on the back wheel going over the top of the climb of Homrren, but by the time you've got back to the bottom, she's 13 seconds behind. She's lost that front group. And this is how this race works. You've got this long, flat, fast section. For someone like Nesti, it's really important to try and make this front group. She's going to come along here, and she's going to have to be pushing the wind the whole time.
Look who's at the front now, though. Isabella Holmgren. And this is blood in the water now. This group know what the woman who currently leads this race inflicted upon them at the last race, and are going to have to react to this. All eyes will be on Valentina Corvy in second place.
Hang on tight. Get your bungee cord out. Wrap it round.
I don't think it's a bungee. I think it's a full tow bar. Assembly you're going to need to bring her back in. And here is where she's at her most dangerous, at the base of a climb. So Corvy, watch the Canyon Collective rider with the number 4 on her back. She was best placed to match Homrren at the start of the last cross-country Olympic distance UCI World Cup. Homrren eventually broke free, but Corvy certainly not scared.
It's a real key point now for this front group. We know how good Homrren climbs. We know what form she's in. Do you go with her and try and take her on, or do you let the wheel go and then start thinking about the podium? And it's already going to happen. We're only in lap 2, and these riders in this front group need to make that call now.
Isabella Homrren in control. Out front behind her, Valentina Corvy. Then it's Ella McLean-Howell. 3 of the riders from last week's top 4. No sign of Ella McPhee at the front of this one yet, Ollie?
Yeah, just 11th position at the moment for the podium rider from last week. 21 seconds back at the moment, so missed that front group. It's on this steep section now, and it's just relentless all the way up to the water tower.
McPhee back in 11th position currently, so needs to get a wriggle on really to get to the front of this when you see the red number 1 on the bike of Isabella Homrren. That does a little bit of work to explain to you that she is undefeated currently this season on a mountain bike.
Sarah Cortonovas and Ghost Factory Racing as well. She's done a good climb. She was in that second group. You've seen the number 21 just closing back on the back wheel.
Yeah, new team for Cortonovas. We saw some great climbing performances from her last season, so this one will suit her as well. There is McPhee going through your shot now on the number 3 bike.
Yeah, cracking race in race 1. Race-long battle with McLean-Howell, and got the better of Howell in the end. Where's Nesti? There she is on the outside, the number 2 French champ. I don't know if she's had an issue, but yeah, went from at the top with that front group. Back now to 39 seconds.
La Force looking like she's struggling slightly too. Well, she hasn't disappeared just yet. Corvy keeping Homrren honest, but this front group of 3 starting to stretch the elastic slightly now. That rock, look at the inside there, just hangs in at pedal height.
There's loads of little sections like that on this course when you just get a bit fatigued or you're in a group, and we saw Mata Cesaro. You know, you got all the really big features.
Oh, and there is a crash on the right-hand side.
That's Marin Low going down.
Yeah, Marin Low not having a good time of it. Didn't seem to lose too much time, but that will just upset her rhythm. Tyler Jacobs has now got past Corvy into 2nd place.
Nice, Marin. Make the connection. You got this. You got
This group's doing good of holding Homrren.
Marin Low just getting told to make the connection. Oh, and that is disappointment for the Mexican there, just unclipping up that. That shot really doesn't do how tech that is. But here we go at the front. Isabella Homrren, twist and grip now.
I think it's Corvy going with her. That was the battle from last week.
Yeah, I said it last week. I'm a big fan of how Valentina Corvy races a bike. Just all feeling, just goes for it. 2nd place now behind Homrren. 3rd place currently belonging Sarah Cortonovas.
Yeah, Cortonovas doing a cracking lap. She was in that 2nd group, moved up to 3rd now. Sometimes as a rider, you're just in that wrong position, and sometimes you just have to commit, use a bit of energy. It's not ideal, but when you get into the right split like Cortonovas is now, you go from being way out to and then in a podium mix. Tyler Jacobs 4th after that little tumble. McLean-Howell 5th.
Bit of a disappointment.
It's the first time we're seeing the route, so
this is horrible.
Yeah, it's dirty, isn't it? 3 lines on the inside. We'll see riders right close to the tree as the fastest, but those routes are about 30 centimetres high. And then this B line we see the riders doing. But there we go, the first line on the A line.
It feels ridiculous to say it, that those routes are actually somehow easier to ride up as opposed to down, but Marin Low.
And this is what we're going to see all race long. So that is a flat, slightly off camber turn.
Oh, she's still stuck in that limiter tape. Oh, that is a nightmare in a bubble car for Marin Low. And we did see this a bit in practice as well. Riders crashing there because they're riding the next feature. They're working ahead of themselves and then just losing the front.
I saw Riley Amos out wrecking, lost the back wheel and did a 180 coming around there, and it was, I think they're carrying a lot of speed from the section before, and it's just innocuous left-hand turn, but it's slightly off camber, it's in the grease, there's no sun on it, but the riders are focusing and they're already thinking about the routes. And what happens, they come around that corner and they're just not quite on it, carrying a bit too much speed.
So this first tech zone, Ollie, it looks like they've allowed water in there today.
Yeah. This is normally, like say, just a tech, like you said, just for mechanicals. Normally the main thing they're going to use is to fix the flat, but allowing water today just because of the heat and humidity.
We go. Yep, you can see Corvy just cooling down.
Yeah, on a day like this, there's a limit. Obviously, you're going to be drinking as much as you can, but there's a limit of how much you can absorb through your stomach. So to keep that body temperature down, they're forced to pour water on them. You'll see some riders having like a stocking full of ice, and they'll tuck that down the top of their jersey into the neck. Some will have something on their wrist as well, just trying to get those contact points just to kind of cool down as much as possible.
Tell you what, this air conditioner gives up again like it did yesterday during the short track. We might have to get a bit of that in here. As we see these two on the really technical descent now, the jump section, and this is where we talked about earlier on. Isabella Homrren has gone away and retooled for this season, and it's so impressive. But look at Corvy pulling up alongside her.
Just putting a little bit of pressure.
Just showing her a wheel. And no matter what you race, Ollie, that little psychological getting halfway alongside, just showing your opponent a wheel, it can make all the difference, can't it?
Yeah, 100%. And Corvy's just she's not going to beat Homrren as an out-and-out climb. What she needs to do is put a little bit of pressure on her, try and force a mistake.
Just make her think about it a bit. These two, though, are starting to pull a gap. 14 seconds now. They're not starting to. They have done back to Cortinovis in third.
Got a bit of a deja vu from race when we had these two riders away. And I remember a mistake that Corvy made. We got to the road. Homrren asked her to come through and do a turn. Corvy did, and as soon as she hit the climb, she attacked her. So
I'd be amazed if she does that again.
Hopefully she's learned this week. I would not be going anywhere.
And taking nothing away from Valentina Corvy, although that was a big win from Holmgren last time out, Corvy had 2 or 3 unforced errors over the space of about half a lap, and then fought back again. Really sort of stabilised and came back, got on the podium.
We saw that Corvy's a fighter. We saw her last year, not scared to take the race on. And it was an amazing performance last week. But there was one lap, I think, maybe just overcooked it a little bit, trying to follow Homrren. Maybe Homrren just ramped the pace up one notch further, and maybe she just got a little hot, made us a few mistakes. And I mean, that's XC all over. You work really hard to gain 5 seconds, and then you can lose 10.
And if we're going to talk about, it's only race 2, heading on to lap 3, but we're going to talk about overalls. Ella McPhee, the rider, in second last time out, down in 10th currently, 42 seconds back of Holmgren. Holmgren, we know, one of those mixed format riders. She'll be splitting her time across different race bikes this year. So Valentina Corvy knows that this is looking quite good for her in 2025 so far.
Yeah, and the rider I thought would take it through to Homrren would be Anesti. I said second at World Champs last year. A great climber, but not having a great first lap. Whether she had a mechanical issue, not too sure, but
Flores Garcia again taking it on at the front of this chase group. We've seen this so much in Araxá, though, haven't we? Chase groups just not getting organised. Nobody prepared to burn the matches to close the gap.
Yeah, no man more than the men's elite race. And I said that Blevins and Koretsky getting a big gap, mainly just from the guys behind just not working together.
Indecision.
But Flores Garcia, not shy. She doesn't mind taking it on. This is what you need sometimes. You need someone in that second group to give it a bit.
Schwarzbauer in the short track yesterday, just taking it on, having a good dig at the front.
Yeah, it was a great short track yesterday. Yeah, 2 cracking races. If you haven't seen it, it's worth going back, having a look at the replay. We see Anesti now just coming through, 16th position now. So 2nd position last year overall. Looking a little bit further back, Ella McPhee, 8th position, but 42 seconds in arrears now. Sina Van Fiel as well, pushing through 1:08.13. But it's Corvy now that hits the front. I think Homrren looks a little bit unsettled. I see Corvy was just giving her a little bit of pressure on the descent, so maybe Homrren not quite as confident. I thought Homrren would take it on that climb, and if I was a betting man, I thought she'd be away on her own by now, but it's Corvy hitting the front on this climb, and maybe Homrren just losing a little bit of confidence from last week. This is not what I expected.
I tell you what, this is looking really, really good from Valentina Corvy, but we know that Isabella Homrren just has a turn of pace that she can deploy at any time.
But I thought it'd be Homrren would be, especially this stage in the race, lap 3 of 7, would just be hitting these climbs and just absolutely giving it to Corvy from bottom to top. But it's Corvy who's matching her so far.
It's a bit of that psychological, Ollie, that she has to let her know that she's not just going to ride around.
Yeah,
she's going to have to beat her today. Yeah,
I mean, sitting back and maybe saving her energy. I mean, maybe worried about the heat and humidity. It's the toughest conditions we've had so far. We do have higher humidity today. The temperatures are on the up from last week. So I think riders need to respect this a little bit. And if you overcook yourself, that core body temperature rises. It's not something you can suddenly flick and turn back down in half a lap. Once it's set, you're going to go backwards and struggle.
And it's such a difficult sport, cycling, isn't it? Because some riders will just be better suited to that, just as some riders will be better on a cold, wet day in Nova Mesto.
Yeah, it's a big part of it, and I never quite worked out whether it's physical or psychological. I think it's a bit of both, but I've asked the question to some clever people, and they couldn't really give me the answer either.
Yeah, I do think it's hard to be. I think nature and nurture, the Sean Kelly of, if it's cold and wet, we attack.
Yeah, and I remember some riders that they just loved it. When it got up, Nick Craig, if we go back to a British legend.
Absolute legend.
When he loved a wet day, but he could never ride when it was boiling hot. It just didn't work, and it doesn't matter how long he spent in the environment, he wanted it to be wet.
Holmgren, though, back in front of Corvy, up this little punch, and Corvy needs to be careful here. You don't want to poke the tiger.
It's these 2 sections. This one here, the false flap, another little kick up. If I describe it, it's so steep. It's one of those bits when you think, I wish I had an e-bike right now. That's rare that I would say that, honestly. But I think in those 2, I'm like, I don't know if I'd have the minerals to get them anymore.
I've genuinely never heard you use that combination of words before in all the years I've known you.
That's how hard this course is. I actually want an e-bike.
That bit there on an e-bike, a little trousy punch.
Yep.
You're up it, but after that climb to then have to navigate that little rock section, absolutely thankless.
And that's the difference between these elite riders now. It's almost like they've got that e-bike punch. They can roll across the flat, give it a little bit, and they've got that 800, 900 watts just to hit a little section like that.
So Italians in second, third at the minute. Valentina Corvy in second, Sara Cortinovis in third, who is 22 seconds back off the leader, Holmgren. So Corvy is going to have to take on Holmgren all by herself yet again.
What would be interesting now if Corvy, I know it's easier said than done because you've just crested the climb, but if Corvy could just get in front of Holmgren, she's definitely got the edge, and just put the pressure on a little bit.
Just put the pressure on a wee bit. And
I don't think you're going to crack her. You're not going to get a gap and win the race in that way, but I think you can just put a bit of pressure and try and force a mistake.
There's shades of the Pauline Ferrand-Prévôts in her prime about Holmgren, isn't there, about the reserves of power and the psychological toughness are there in such quantities that it's hard to know how to approach beating her.
100%. You're exactly right. Pauline Ferrand-Prévôts, once she got a gap and she was so strong on the climbs, then she just kind of get by on the tech stuff.
There we go. You can see the top 7 covered by 37 seconds now. So these 2 at the front working.
Yeah, in this descent, we're just dropping down now. It's super fast. Most of the corners aren't bermed. So the risk of slipping out, and you can see it, that the surface has less grip than you would think. You see the green just on the inside, the moss sections, all the way down here. Even though it's a really basic kind of technical part of the course, when you're at speed, there's a risk of losing it. I saw there was a clip of an E-EDR on socials on a couple of berms further down, just folding it, just losing the front wheel. And it's crazy, you've got the big rock features, but the sections that are more likely to take you out today with these riders with the skill set are the linking sections.
I mentioned it earlier, it feels bizarre as for somebody who rides mountain bikes to say that route section is weirdly easier to ride up than down, because there's just no right line there. We walked it the other day, and there's no way to get down those routes that actually make sense.
No, and it's one of those clashes, when you sit it and you're kind of looking at it and you're not fatigued in any way, you can kind of work your way through it, but it's one of those bits that when you're breathing hard, your arms aren't, your reactions aren't quite there, you can make a right mess of it.
As we see Sarah Courtney-Novus and Ellen McLean-Hyle tipping it through the A-line, the rock section, that bit has remained the same, but this bit different now, the exit of it, turn the riders hard left back in towards this tech feed zone, where they'll take on a couple of dump bottles just to cool down a bit.
Yeah, Courtney-Novus having a cracking race so far. Last week she was 9th in the XC, so a good step up. She had a poor start, but this big lap she came through. McLean-Howell as well, backing it up.
We are at the front pairing of Homrren and Corvy. Corvy landing very, very tight. The riders left there after that little whip. We see the same thing again here. I wonder if she'll just show the UCI World Champion a bit of a wheel through the jump line. There's Marin Low. She has had a topsy-turvy time of it. Been in the wars in this one.
Yeah,
here's a compilation. Talk us through it, Ollie.
It's just on the outside and it's so techy, and there's at the top of here we've got rocks, we've got roots, there's no perfect line through, and you've only got to tap one of those sections, and on this section as well, on the inside we saw on the left there, Flores as well, but it's so steep and so tech, and you're doing it when you've already exerted a load of effort. You're not coming into this fresh, and this is that section we talked about, that off camber coming down.
She had got back to within 25 seconds, Marin Low, but just these mistakes and just that's the last thing you want. You know, we see it in cross country all the time. Really experienced riders, it sounds strange to say, can crash and not lose too much time. And
I think we're going to see this in the elite races as well. You know, we're going to see riders going down in a group. They're just going to be losing. They'll get up pretty quick, but
Ellen McLean-Hyle up to third place now, 37 seconds back. Looks like she's broken away from Courtney-Novus. Maybe there's been a problem for Courtney-Novus while we watched that package of highlight clips of Marin Low. It looks like a lot of clear air around Ellen McLean-Hyle all of a sudden. So the British rider, third place for her, 37 seconds back off the leader. And this is where we're coming onto the straight now, where we saw Isabella Holmgren very cleverly ask Corvy for some help at race 1, who mistakenly, we think anyway, obliged and then paid the price.
Stick the favourite on the front. that is a basic.
If they've got rainbow stripes on, do not give them any help.
They're on the front.
It's there.
You've got a good gap behind. You're having a good race. You're following the world champion, the winner of the first 3 races. You do not give them a turn. You just sit there.
Well, no requests so far lodged from the Canadian consulate.
Even if you come to a halt and track stand, I am not going to the front. There's some track skills going on.
Ollie Beckinsale in refusing to help. Shocker. See, the two of them, though, seem to be working well together so far, Ollie.
And I think Corvy must have gone back from last week and gone, actually, I think I can take it to Homrren, but I've just got to ride so smart.
And look, this is what we talked about earlier on, isn't it? Corvy now on a factory team, Canyon Collective, a lot of very experienced coaching staff and mechanics around her. They'll have pointed out those things to her, which maybe she would have been left to find out for herself. As McLean-Hyle now just moving back into this group of McPhee.
Yeah, McLean-Howell as well, doing a great ride. Last year, a couple of podiums, mainly more in the short track rather than the XC.
This is dangerous. This is dangerous every lap for the rider in second place. Corvy Low, a lion, one of the best climbers of our generation, to lead into the bottom of a climb.
Corvy doing a cracker race. Same thing again, just giving her a little bit of pressure on the climb, just making Homrren know that she's there.
This descent, so fast. And for the bike geeks out there, watching modern cross-country race bikes work at this speed is just absolutely staggering, because there's a horrible little sort of kicker over a log at the bottom of that you are hitting flat stick and having to deal with it. We see now Corvy just moving in front of Homrren.
Same as last lap. Homrren not wanting to take it on. For this, I would have put money that Homrren would have attacked at the bottom of that climb. And whether it's a bit of Corvy, a bit of kidology, just to try and just say that I'm here and I'm climbing and I'm good. And that's the time to go to the front, you know, because there's no slipstreaming, there's no issues.
You get the feeling with Corvy that, I mean, oh, now this is ominous. There looks to be half a bike length now by Homrren. Corvy reacting to it. Yeah, as I mentioned before, Corvy drawing a lot of fans around the world already for that really just all-action, combative, aggressive style of racing. And you get the feeling as the season progresses, if she can round off some of those little unforced errors, like allowing Homrren to let her past her, you know, you could be looking at a really, really formidable all-round package.
Yeah, and the thing is, she's not shy to try different things. And like I say, all of last year, every race, we were kind of super impressed.
Here is that group now. That features Sarah Cortonovas, Ellen McLean-Howell just going through your shot. Tyler Jacobs just battling to stay on the back of this one for Live Factory Racing. At the head of it, Ella McPhee. We did wonder where she was. Spent the first couple of laps mid-pack, the Canadian, who impressed so much at round one.
Whether she just got caught up in the pack or whether just riding really smart. You know, it's like we talked about, we've already said about the heat and humidity today and how hard this climb is. And you really need to pace your efforts. You're looking for, ideally you're riding on a cross-country race from start to finish, consistent laps as close as possible. That's the most efficient way to ride. And sometimes so many riders go that first lap so hard and it bites them at the end.
Flores Garcia hanging in there in seventh as well, the Mexican. Great show of strength from her. Got the whole shot off the line and isn't moving backwards too quickly.
Yeah, went off like a rocket. Yeah. What's all this about? You know, going, like, gapping everyone on the start loop. But I think this is only going one way. She's just going to disappear out of the top 10. But fair play to her, hanging in there seventh at the moment.
She maybe watched the U23 men's race last week when that Norwegian guy got the fastest lap of the race on lap one by going off like a cruise missile off the line.
But he hung in there.
He did,
He had a PB race, and maybe that's the sort of thing. You get in there, you get in a good group. Oof, this gap just appearing now.
And this is around the point in the last race that Corvy just had a dodgy half a lap.
But because we're quite close to the top.
And Homrren having to unclip up that little technical punch there. So, if you're Valentina Corvy, Christmas has come early slightly. I mean, everything's relative, but that's the first mistake I've seen Homrren make in 2025, I think.
Corvy must be like, jackpot. Absolute jackpot.
Here we go, look, just stalls out. That's the
Fair play to Corvy, still managed to ride it, roll it through. Little strike down at the top.
I'm not suggesting that you are now Corvy to the front.
This is going to be interesting. Corvy, I think, just got a little edge on Homrren on the descent, and now she's going to be able to go from start to that mistake from Homrren. And as Corvy's managed to lead into this descent.
And watch, Homrren over on the B line as well. So watch Corvy just let that canyon eat down this descent, and look at the gap she's pulled at the bottom of it.
We're going to see Homrren under pressure now.
But like a rider we just mentioned, Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, Homrren just has that torque that within a couple of pedal strokes she can roll back on the back of somebody. Cortonovas, McPhee, McLean-Howell, Jacobs, Flores Garcia, your top 8. So McPhee breaking away from McLean-Howell and Tyler Jacobs now. Mixing it with Cortonovas. That's her into third place now, McPhee. Goes to the B line as well. The entrance into that A line is absolutely putrid.
Yeah, well. It's a bit intimidating.
Yeah.
The rocks coming up. It looked from the angle we see in the camera, it's got a nice ramp. But coming up to it, the kind of roll in is all just old big rocks, and it's trying to throw you off balance, but it's not a lovely, nice smooth in before the ramp.
And there's a little bit of a step down to the ramp itself as well that you've got to get right.
And that descent, you can, from the ramp, you can see the exit at the end of the trees, and it's almost a straight line, but it's littered with rocks, stumps, the whole lot, so you can pin it. But you see the riders have some classic footage from front of them. I think Specialized guys, just everybody making these little tiny adjustments and moves all the way down. It's not quite a straight line.
58 seconds now.
Yeah, McPhee, Cortinovis just coming through. Cortinovis doing a cracking ride.
Yeah, best we've seen of her. You've got to go back to 2023, really. She had a bit of a disappointing season last time out, Sarah Cortinovis, but heading back to 2023, top 10s in there. You can see Homrren getting some water around her shoulders to try and cool down a bit. Corvy looking really strong though.
But Homrren able to respond, not losing any time so far. But that's the easiest part of the descent. We're now into the tougher bit. The second section of this course is harder. We've still got the same finish to the lap.
As they head through the double gap jumps.
It's amazing how we came here last year, that section in particular, everyone looking at it going, this looks nails. Everybody now riding on the A-line.
41 seconds, the gap back to third place behind the race leader, Valentina Corvy. Gives you an idea of the pace that they're circulating at. So 2/3 of the way around lap 4 out of 7 at the second round of the UCI Cross Country Olympic World Cup for the under-23 women. It is Italy's Valentina Corvy who leads the pre-race favourite that's so far undefeated in 2025, Isabella Homrren from Lidl Trek.
And I would not have put money on Corvy leading at the end of lap 4.
No, this is looking good for the Italian. She... as I said, round 1, she had a duff half lap where she sort of toppled over a couple of times, then sort of got the ship righted and got back on for third place, which allowed Homrren to do a disappearing act. But so far...
Yeah, and I would have said that if you... The race 1 and race 2, I think this race today, the new course here is more physical and less technical, so you'd say would more likely to suit Homrren this week, but it actually... Corvy's not got her on the ropes by any means, but is able to put pressure on, and we're past halfway.
Yeah, it's like a boxing match that you were kind of anticipating the first or second round knockout blow, but the underdog is taking it to the title holder here.
So I think Corvy needs to just swing onto this start, finish straight, and then try and get Homrren to come to the front to lead all the way to the bottom of that climb. What you don't want to do is drag Homrren all the way to the bottom of that steep first descent. Don't want to give her a breather. You want to keep the pressure on.
Are we about to see the tables turned here slightly, and do the mind games go to Corvy now, and Corvy can ask Homrren to do a bit of work on this flat section as opposed to all the way around?
I think that...
I'm seeing that, I think, as they exit the tech feed zone. Yeah.
Good work. I think, you need to keep this pressure, mentally put a bit of pressure that Homrren, she's won 3 races here so far, 3 from 3, the world champion.
Free to go here in Araxá, opening round of the UCI Cross Country Olympic World Cup under-23 women. Ollie Beckinsale liking what he's seeing from Valentina Corvy, the rider in second place here. Isabella Homrren, the red-hot pre-race favourite, being asked to do a bit of work by the Italian, but just watch this slow-mo of the descent.
Yeah, and the Red Bull Energy Zone, Corvy hitting that A-line with the big rock lip at the top. Homrren going to the B. It's not actually a lot slower, they're 2 different, but just that metre. But at the moment, between Corvy and Homrren, that metre makes a big difference. It's just putting that pressure. Homrren making a bit of an effort, but you see how physical it is. It's an upper body sport as well, especially these days.
Another big day of cycling right here, Paris-Roubaix fam, currently underway, and a rider formerly of this parish, Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, in action in that one.
Bravo focusing on road this year, the Olympic champion, second at Flanders last week. See if you can go one step better.
I find it really fascinating, having worked in mountain biking for so long, that there's a whole new group of cyclists who are trying to find an answer for Pauline after nobody could do it in mountain bike racing. Yeah, I mean, last season, that gold medal, Paris 2024, probably one of the defining wins of this generation of rider.
But we talk about the new era of multidiscipline riders. Pauline from Bravo, remember, can't remember the exact year, but held all 3 world championships: road, cyclocross and mountain bike.
And gravel. She won gravel that year as well.
Yeah.
It's 23, I think it was. I mean, go and open a coffee shop somewhere. Relax, do you know what I mean? But no, she's retooled. She's signed with one of the biggest road teams on the circuit in Visma. And, yep, she's off taking it to the classics this season. Paris-Roubaix fam in action today, all day long. Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, as we look at Ella McPhee, currently in 3rd place for Willier Vittoria. Behind her, Sarah Cortanova, the Italian, having one of her best rides in a long time. And then Chioppa up in 5th. The American, Salvini Morgan, highest placed Brazilian currently.
Then we got Jacobs in 5th. McLean Howell in 6th position, 109 back now. McLean Howell as well, 4th position last week. To get that, another top 5 will be a good day out.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, and suggest that Valentina Corvy didn't enjoy getting beaten by as much as she did last weekend, and has been sat somewhere in Brazil brooding over this race for a long time, because she is doggedly stalking Isabella Homgren around every inch of the track here in Araxá.
But Homgren now, I think she's just squeezing a little bit. It's hard. Homgren, one of the smoothest pedalers on the circuit, and such a pure climber, and I think she's just squeezing that a little bit harder this lap. 5 out of 7. Wouldn't have liked Corvy putting pressure on the descent, so she knows she needs to get away a little bit this lap. And because it's this week we have a circuit that's predominantly up and then down, I think if Homgren can get a gap, maybe if it's 5-6 seconds at the top, I think there's a chance that Corvy could pull that back on the long descent.
Yeah, Corvy, one of that new guard of cross-country riders that, as at home on descent as they are on climbs, just makes it look effortless. There's a chance to recover.
And like you said previously, a lot of these under-23 riders in the front end now are all getting factory rides, which is amazing. So you've got Homgren is going and riding with Evie Richards. And Corvy will be with Rizvids.
By factory rides, you mean the top-tier teams?
Top-tier teams, yeah.
From the big bike brands.
And McLean Howell stepped up. She was riding predominantly with the national team last year, which is a great setup, but it's not Cube Factory racing. She wasn't in Brazil last year. Yeah. And coming through, and she's going to be riding with Kira Baum. And
where is Valentina Corvy, though? She's not currently in shot. Where is the Italian rider? Has there been problems for Corvy here? It looks like there has.
Go get her, go get her. Come on, Vale, come on.
We're not too far from the cobbler climb. Corvy needs to nail this section, regroup, hit the descent.
Calls of come on Vale. She needs to get back up the road here and get back in touch with Isabella Holmgren.
So we come up this last steep section. It's that gentle climb up to the top. It's not going to feel like a gentle climb for Corvy, but it's a big pressure now. She knows this is the top of the ascent.
And as well, if she does get back to the back of Holmgren will know she's had to dig so hard to do it. The drone tries to catch up with the UCI world champion, who's already well on the descent. So this could be a race-winning move here for Isabella Holmgren. 9 seconds the distance, but we can't see her on our screens.
So here we go. We've got a downhill race.
There she is. So we have a downhill race to the bottom of this one. Let's just get a visual on it. So I wonder if there was an unforced error from Corvy as she heads through your shot now, or whether Holmgren just asked a bigger question and she had an answer for it.
I think we're going to see a fast lap when we look at the lap times. This is a fast one from Holmgren, putting the pressure on. Maybe it was a tactic, or maybe just thinking on her feet, but that pressure got applied. And I don't think Corvy's got slower. The gap behind to McPhee has been stabilising. I think it's just Holmgren going faster.
Holmgren just dispatching that really, really tricky route section with ease there. Corvy through the slightly more technical line of it, just hangs a knee out to keep her balance. Does so.
Corvy's got to not make mistakes. She's got to regroup. We know she's slightly better on the descents, but there's not a lot in it. But I think 9 seconds is a big ask. But if she can't get back onto Homrren by the time we hit the flap, then it becomes a pursuit along the bottoms of the climb.
It's what's fascinating, isn't it? You know, like the last generation of riders, really, the Nino Schurter and Yolanda Neff rewrote the book on what could be expected from cross-country racers on descents. But now that it's become normalised that they can all descend at an extremely fast pace, it's almost back to where it was before, where the bigger gains can be made on the climbs. It's really yo-yoing. And this woman can make gains just about anywhere. Isabella Homrren. I thought we were going into the tree there.
Yeah, that A-line, it's a steep drop-off from the top, and the gap at the bottom, about 2 meters across, and with a nasty edge. But yeah, it's gone to 10.
10 seconds, the gap now between Homrren and Corvy. Homrren, yeah, this is looking very, very Pauline Ferrand-Prévot-esque, just turning a big gear.
Yeah, if she can hold this gap back to the start-finish, have some daylight between Homrren and Corvy, then it's back to 12 now.
And that on your screen there is just where we saw Isabella Homrren is so good on those innocuous flatter sections like PFP. She can just turn a slightly bigger gear and make a second or two.
But the difference between the Homrren from 24 and the Homrren 25 is she just nailed all those A-lines.
Look at the chase group. Third place, nearly a minute back now, Sarah Cortinova. So Homrren on the move here in Araxá. Corvy, little bobbles there, just unforced errors starting to creep in. She refuses to let this one go, but she's really got to come up with an answer quite quickly. 12 seconds the gap currently. Let's see if she can stem her losses.
But like, if we're looking at the gap from Corvy to Cortinovis, that stayed the same, so it definitely is Homrren's going faster on this lap. Good news for Corvy. You know, it's not that she's blowing up at all. It's Homgren's putting the pressure on.
Ollie, do you think there's an argument that Homrren could make that jump to elites now, or is it still too early for you?
I think she could, yeah. I think it's smart still staying another year. It's only a second year in the category.
Is there a danger that as much as you can, as much as you can make the jump, that if you stay behind too long, can you stall the forward momentum a wee bit? You risk another big talent coming into the pool and sort of nullifying you slightly.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one. Yeah, I think that balance between the two. I mean, you spoke to her before the races last week in an interview, and she said she's going from this one to do a block of road racing, and I think there's that, by doing that second tier means you can do a busy program. If you're doing the first tier and you're being, every weekend you're going from start to finish and finishing absolutely depleted, to then back that up with a busy road program where you're going to have a hard time with elite racers. And I think it's just giving some wins and not finishing every race on your knees, I think is a good shout.
She is. Really, we get an update on this gap. It was 12 seconds, as I say. Yeah, in that interview, she was Pidcock-esque in that, I asked her how long does it take you to get used to a road bike, having ridden your mountain bike at such a high level, and she was like, oh, not that long, I get on it and I go, and it's pretty straightforward. And I spoke to Henrik Avancini earlier in the week, also now racing on the road, of course, the King of Brazil, and he said that, they told him how difficult it would be riding in the bunch and riding in the pack, and he kind of politely said, I've got this, don't worry. If you're a high quality mountain biker. Let's get an update on the gap then over the line. Corvy currently, as we wait for the graphic to refresh here in the booth, 15 seconds. Yeah, she's lost another 3 seconds now to Homrren, but yeah, top-tier mountain bikers, amongst the most skilled cyclists in the world.
I said, Henrik Avancini racing on the road. His first races, exactly said they were worried about his bunch positioning. And he just said, have you never seen a short track in Nova Mesto? You're not worried about positioning.
Yeah, 6-rider wide, big handlebars.
740 bars,
Warfare, yeah.
But I think we're seeing, for someone like Homrren, who's mixing up the programs, and Hathaway as well, the world champion, riding a mixed program this year. He's not here. He's racing for Giant on the road or Jaco Alula. And then what's happening? We're going to find out that the positioning in the bunch and the tactics, the road guys are racing on the descents more than they were before. They're actually in those bunches attacking, So someone like Homrren improving at her technical skills on the mountain bike will in turn help her road skills.
Yeah, I remember, you know, being a lot younger and watching road cycling. That was one of the things I could never really understand, was that from a mountain biker's point of view, they seem to cruise the descents, and really the race was won or lost on the climbs. But you see the likes of, as you know, the aforementioned Tom Pidcock, what he can do in a descent to a pack is just pure mountain bike racing, really. Isabella Homrren, though, on a climb at the minute, your race leader, 19 seconds now to the good, ahead of Valentina Corvy behind her, second place. Ella McPhee is third place, so 2 Canadians in the top 3. Then Cortinovas, another Italian, Tyler Jacobs, Ella McLean Howell, Juliana Salvini Morgan, just as I say that, up into 5th for the Brazilians. So the home crowd, as they begin to fill this venue here in Araxá, definitely having something to cheer about. Looking forward to seeing what that trio of Brazilians can do in the elite men's race later on this afternoon. 10th, 11th and 12th last time out, and celebrated justly like they'd won it. Homrren, though, look at the fastest laps in the top 10. Lap 5, 9 minutes 40.8. Her own effort of 9:47 on lap 2, the second fastest lap. So
yeah, so just as before, even Corvy's lap for that last lap, a 9:55, so the 4th fastest lap of the day. So it was that Homrren accelerated on that lap. Corvy's still riding fast, still got good power, and it'd be great. Hopefully she can get that feedback from the pits, and she hasn't blown, she's not struggling, she's still on pace. It's just that Homrren stepped it up, like I say, to bang out that fastest lap of the race so far on lap 5. Shows the class of Homrren. And maybe, like I say, Homrren just concerned about the heat and humidity, you know, not wanting to bang out that fastest lap on lap 2 and risking overheating, just leaving a little bit later into the race.
yeah, and that's the beauty of having reserves of power. Look at that, 30 seconds now. So in that first, not even half a lap, she's stuck another 15 seconds on that docket. Huge laps getting poured in here by Isabella Homrren. It will be worth making a note of those fastest times to compare them to the elites. Look at the efficiency of Ollie Beckinsale. He's just started writing them down as I've said that. It was just an idea. Homrren, Corvy, your leaders at the minute. Sarah Cortinovas in 3rd. And there's Ella McPhee in 4th. 1 minute 14 down this pair.
This is going to be a good scrap for that podium position.
Yeah, Cortinovas really rejuvenated on that Ghost Factory racing squad. That Ghost bike, that's a race bike, isn't it? 2-tone paint job, mag wheels, carbon fibre.
But talking of race bikes, when you get a World Champs one,
talking of race bikes,
nothing better than a World Champs livery custom bike.
Oh, Homrren, now that is top tier bike riding there. Just takes a hand off, steadies the ship, stays clipped into the pedals, because that is what will cost you time.
Well, that's one of those sections that when you're just getting fatigued, so it's a bit of a flat before it, and you need to accelerate really hard and then hit that little rock climb with some momentum. And when the fatigue's not there, you don't have that hit before it.
There we go, Ollie.
Yeah, good skills. Everyone needs a little tree to grab.
That's like a really steep climb in the Tweed Valley up there.
We'll see if Corvy, when we get to the second, see if she's got the power as well.
Still on the beeline. Homrren not taking that steeper plunge. And there's that little kick I was talking about that really is, just sumps the bike out completely. Kicks it up into the air. There is second place, Valentina Corvy, lap 6 out of 7 here in Araxá. Second round of the UCI Cross Country Olympic World Cup for the under-23 women. Stacked ticket today, all day long. Under-23 men following this race. Then it's the turn of the elite women and then the elite men, and it is only getting hotter here in Araxá. You mentioned yesterday a lot of the riders even taken to ice baths pre-race, which is kind of unheard of.
Yeah, Benno Villet, assistant manager Mondrack, is saying that they're all having pre-ice baths, so they start the warm-up with their core temperature as low as possible.
It is staggeringly hot out there, very humid here in the forest as well.
Yeah, we saw a lot of riders warming up even for the short track where it's only a short race, that not using the rollers to warm up, just having a little pedal around the paddock as well, and you're just trying to stay cool, which is smart. Ice vests used by everybody. And yeah, I think by the time we get to later in the day, the elite men, it's going to be absolutely redders.
Oh. Two riders nearly coming together there as they both headed into the same corner at the same time. Corton Novus just getting bobbled off the edge of that rock. McPhee carried more speed down the B line, and they just nearly touched as they came around the next section.
But you exactly said before, Corton Novus, that entry coming into the rocks, it's not smooth. It's a number of rocks they've placed, and it's Corton Novus just getting hung up a bit. And not a section where you want to get offline, that's 100%.
No, and a section I would not like to be in is the section that camera operator is in at the bottom of that descent. A cloud of mosquitoes down there. He was almost invisible in them, so thoughts and prayers to him. So there is Corvy through 29 seconds. What's she signaling at? Just a dump bottle she wanted. So she's got a second back, but we saw this, didn't we, at the last race, where not only is Homrren expert at building a gap, but she can manage it as well.
As I said before, A-lines all the way through this section. The first one coming into this one, where the A-line on the right, you've got to ride, they've laid a log on the floor, you've got to ride up this log that then launches you over 4 big rocks. You know, it's a really committed line. You've got to be super confident and carry speed.
Where she is different from Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, of course. Very, very different physically, rangy rider, Isabella Homrren, and she uses those long limbs to just give the bike room, sucks it up underneath her, creates a bit of space, and very, very dynamic on the bike. Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, a lot more compact, often rode a hardtail as well, and that would sort of limit her descending speed to an extent.
Yeah.
Although another rider who went and retooled, trained with Cécile Ravenel and got very, very good at descending.
There was a time in XC where you couldn't flag it anymore just with climbing. You had to go and do the tech. And Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, there was a point where she left it a year late. She kept losing races.
Yolanda Neff took a tour that year, I remember it well.
Went back, did the skills coaching, put on the knee pads, got stuck in, and the next 4 or 5 years off the back of that really paid dividends.
I have to say though, that hardtail bike choice, whenever we first saw that Paris 2024 course with a rock garden, I did wonder if she'd underclubbed that slightly, but I should never have doubted Pauline Ferrand-Prévot. Racing, as I say today, Paris-Roubaix FAM is live currently. Big day of bike racing here. It's good when this time of year arrives, isn't it? And there is action all over the world on two wheels as we see the race leader Isabella Homrren come round to get lap 6 checked off, and then it is Ollie Beckinsale's favourite time of the race whenever you get to tick each of the sections off one by one. Just head for home.
I'll just go back to all those painful races I had to do. I'd be like, right, 4 bits left, just 4, tick them off.
Yeah, we need to put this into context as well. I mean, the rider on your screen at the minute, Isabella Homrren, this has been yet another Tour de Force. She's heading to her 4th win on the bounce, but taking nothing away from Valentina Corvy in 2nd place. She's nearly a minute ahead of 3rd place, and as we stated at the top of the broadcast, the woman on your screen now might be at every UCI World Cup mountain bike race this year. Yeah,
it's still an overall to fight for. Don't forget, last year Kira Bomb won all 4 races in Brazil. Isabella Homrren wasn't here. She was the previous junior world champion the year before, suddenly then rocked up at Nova Mesto and smashed Kira Bomb and smashed everybody and won the race. We're here saying the same thing, saying that Isabella Homgren's got this in the bag. Who's going to turn up in Nova Mesto?
Exactly, yeah, Kira Bomb, super impressive in her elite debut season so far. She'll be coming up later on this afternoon, running with the big guns. The biggest of the big guns in this race, though, Isabella Homrren. That gap stabilised, 30 seconds. She shipped a couple of seconds on the last lap, but is back to 3-0 on the board now. There you go, fastest rider on the last lap. And you can see just on the jersey of Ella McPhee, she has been down somewhere. So I wonder if that was early in the race when we were wondering why she wasn't in that front group. Maybe just having it coming together with someone somewhere.
Yeah, she definitely had that first lap drifted back to the teens. And same with Cortinova. I think Cortinova is more of a gridding issue and just got out of place in the first climb. She came flying through, doing a cracking race. But yeah, Homrren now. Last lap. Still that fastest lap with the one before. Lap 5 in a 9:40. Bettering a lap from lap 2, so really did step it up. A 9:50 lap just gone. Yeah, in an ideal world, you want all those laps to be 20 seconds or so. I think Homrren's going to nail that.
Really interesting to see if that stands as well, because I mean, as we're more used to talking about in downhill, the under-23s often getting the best of the track conditions as the day gets hotter, the track gets more blown out.
I think this track will stay pretty consistent today. We're not going to get many changes, but the conditions in terms of the temperature and the humidity, that's going to make a difference.
So Isabella Homrren, there are the ball of mosquitoes have consumed that last camera operator and are looking for another one. Behind her, Valentina Corvy, and behind Corvy, this battling pair of McPhee and Cortinova going for the last spot on the podium. So as it stands, the same three riders on the podium from round 1, albeit in a slightly rejigged order. Corvy was third last time out, sitting on a commanding lead ahead of third place currently. She's been super impressed today, Corvy. Taking nothing away from her.
Really, really good race. She's got, at the moment, unless something amazing happens on this last lap, Isabella Homrren's got this one in the bag, really. But Corvy's done a super consistent race. Took it to Homrren as well. Yeah, it wasn't shy. She could have just gone, well, actually, second is my goal for the day. She wasn't riding like she was settling for second.
No, super positive. I think the Canyon Collective team will be well happy with that effort from her, as we see an attack here from Cortinova on McPhee. Just stands up out of the saddle, knows that she's got one lap to go. McPhee does well to cover it off though, and I thought she was going to try and get past herself onto this descent. These two going bar to bar at the bottom of this next descent on the last lap, so McPhee will be keen to get the move done before they tip into it on this one. See just tapping tyres on the way past the water tower there. And again, it looks like Holmgren had used her favourite tree to steady herself on the way up there. Saw the hand going back on the bars. 43 seconds now, the gap back to Corvy. So Corvy may have flown up the white flag here in terms of her battle with Holmgren, but still has plenty of time in her own pocket. There she is on her screen now, back to third place. So the front two, very similar tactics at the minute, Ollie, just managing the gap.
Yeah, and you see, obviously, we're going to have a big fight between McPhee and Cortinova for this third position. What you find sometimes when they battle together, they'll go really, really deep and they're going to close on Corvy, but with 40 seconds at the moment, that should be enough the way she's descending.
And we saw at round 1 as well, Corvy well able to dig deep late in the race. Really, really good through there.
Every lap she's nailed that section, and easier said than done. So steep, so loose.
Corvy still giving her a good go up this climb.
These gaps the last 2 laps just really exploded. We got Marin Low 2:23 back in 5th. Tyler Jacobs 2:38. McLean Howell 7th now 2:45. This fight for third's going to come down to the descent, I think.
Yeah, this one bubbling up nicely as we are nearly halfway around the final lap here. UCI Cross Country Olympic under 23 Women's World Cup, and a gap forming here. Cortinova's trying to break the elastic band back to Ella McPhee.
Kortanova's taking that A line up the rocks. McPhee having to go on the longer B line, and that's the difference at the moment. They've gone the whole way up the climb physically, but it's that technical section that split the difference between the two.
What a ride from Sarah Kortanova. 9th last time out here. And we know she's a really, really good climber, so do you think it's just a case of maybe just this course, this layout suiting her a bit better, Ollie?
Yeah, we just see Kortanova. She rode the A line on that steep climb. She rode the A line on the descent. McPhee just scraping, just getting back on terms.
Yeah, McPhee straight back on the back of her. So, this one set to go the distance. And it is shaping up to be a battle between Canada and Italy for podium domination. Those two countries accounting for the top 5 positions. Yeah, and Marin Low in 5th place. Oh, I mean, she's been in the wars early on in this race, but looks to have regrouped and really come through the pack for Live Factory Racing.
Yeah, 3 Canadians in that front 5 at the moment. 2 Italians.
We mentioned as well at the start of the programme the team changes and, you know, the top tier under 23 talent getting on factory teams and getting a lot of support. Top 7 places accounted for pro teams now as well, which you wouldn't have seen in women's under 23 racing certainly until very recently.
Yeah, and some of the changes with having to be in that top 15 or top 20 in the wild cards, it means that the points that a top under 23 women racer can give to a team made them more useful, and it's been great. It means you've got more diverse teams across all the under 23 and elite categories, male and female.
That's how it should be, certainly. And for the bike companies, plenty more input for the technicians, for the developments that make better bikes for normal people like me to enjoy. Really, really good to see. But this has been an absolutely triumphant trip to Brazil for Isabella Holmgren. May well have to pay a bit more money in oversized baggage for all the leaders' jerseys she's taken home with her.
And capybaras.
And capybaras, yeah. Again, as I've always said throughout the last couple of weeks, cuddly capybaras, not real ones. You can't take them home with you.
But Holmgren as well was put under pressure by Corvy on the descent, and she responded. That's not the easiest race. I mean, it looks relatively easy now that she's got it, but you had to work hard today. And it was a test of her descending skills. Corvy put a pressure on the descent. Holmgren responded.
And there were a couple of little chinks in the armour in there. There was a foot that was unclipped once. A tree was grabbed a couple of times. Small things, but none of them were allowed to affect the rhythm of this woman on your screen now. The UCI World Champion, Isabella Holmgren. As she rounds the lake for the last time, she'll hit the asphalt now. Turn right. And then it is all done, bar the screaming. Celebrates with the team on the way through. Still on the pedals, 49 seconds, the gap at the last check from Valentina Corvy, who's a buffer of nearly 40 seconds from 3rd place. So, here we go, just as Kira Baum did in 2024. Isabella Holmgren is going to be undefeated in Brazil. Huge set of races from one of the biggest talents in international cycling. Isabella Holmgren wins the 2nd round of the UCI Cross-Country Olympic World Cup for the under 23 women in some style. Absolutely no question about it. The Canadian, the best in the world at the minute, Ollie.
4 from 4, but the big test coming here has how much she's improved her technical skills.
Valentina Corvy, though, 2nd place, and absolutely no disrespect to her. The gap behind her, sizable. The Italian looking like one of the class acts of 2025. She's been great to watch, has fought for every inch of it. Valentina Corvy growing in stature after that move to the Canyon Collective in the off-season, paying dividends for them.
And rode tactically smarter this week, took it to Holmgren, but took it to her on the sections that suited her, didn't work with her on the flat. Yeah, fantastic ride by Corvy.
Great respect between these two, always fantastic to see. But meanwhile, behind in the battle for third place, looking like it is going to be won by Ella McPhee, who climbs onto another podium in 2025. Sarah Cortinovis, big smiles, though she will take big confidence from that result as well.
Yeah, I mean, Cortinovis, 9th last week, and then stepping up to 4th. Yeah, you'd be pretty happy with that. Canada, Italy, currently set for another Canadian to join them in the top 5. Marin Low. It's great as well when you get, I think if you've got other compatriots, there's a little bit of a fight on competitiveness between different teammates, whether it's within your team, but also you want to help each other out, but also having a scrap with your...
Well, we can see, looks like Ella McPhee, as we mentioned, has been down somewhere on course. I would hazard a guess that must have been early in the race, Ollie, because it took her a while to come through. Yeah, we saw her drift back into the team. There's so many opportunities on here just to slide off. What a ride from Marin Low on the number 11 bike for Live Factory Racing. Was in a real punch-up of her own making early in this race, but has recovered to get in inside the top 5. Marin Low, take a bow. Tyler Jacobs as well, her teammate. Live Factory Racing really invested in some of the fastest young talent on 2 wheels. 10 off for them. Yeah, Marin Low, PB ride for her, and despite those incidents and a couple of offs, fight back for a 5th. I've got that down as a PB, so a big step up. Tyler Jacobs as well, 6th last week, 6th weekend. Listen to this, though. Juliana Salvini Morgan from, guess where, Brazil. Welcomed home, and that will rev things up nicely here at the Grand Hotel Araxá. Great to see. Yeah, the Brazilian riders really stepping up. And a big sprint finish coming in behind her. Zadnik just edging that one out for 8th place ahead of Choppa. Again, Zadnik stepping up, big PB from last week. Big improvement, which is what you're after in these events, if you can keep moving forward. Another great result as well. Yeah. Flores Garcia from Mexico, the rider who led them off the line, got that whole shot, held like, hung in there really, really well for a 10th. Here's how the race unfolded though. Isabella Holmgren just timed her attack to perfection and then refused to relinquish any seconds on the way. Corvy got 2 seconds back, but it was only for half a lap before the pressure was applied once again by the Canadian Isabella Holmgren. Class act. Here's confirmation of the results in 50 seconds in the end. The difference between Isabella Holmgren and Valentina Corvy. Ella McPhee in 3rd, then Cortinovis Low, Jacob Salvini Morgan, Zadnik Choppa, Flores Garcia in 10th. Well, she's had a bit of time to compose herself ahead of this interview. Isabella Holmgren is down there now.
Isabella Holmgren, congratulations. Brazil, you've absolutely completed it. Your 4th victory here over the last couple of weekends, and your 6th XCO victory too. I mean, an unforgettable weekend for you.
Yeah, it was so amazing. I really love Brazil. All the fans gave me an extra boost up the climbs today, and I just loved every second of it.
How did this track compare with the XCO course from last week?
Personally, I think I preferred this course. The climb just felt easier to just go full because it wasn't so steep. And yeah, super fun descent. I loved it.
You look like you were having fun out there. You were put under pressure from Valentina Corvy, but you've managed to pull away on lap 5. Was that always the plan?
No, I kind of just went into it and wanted to see how the race would play out. We worked together really well the first few laps, just making a bigger gap, and then I noticed that I was putting her maybe under a bit of pressure, so I just went all in and then, yeah, created the gap.
When you say you were working together well, were you having conversations, and what were they like?
Not much. We just both knew that if we were pushing together on the flats, then we would probably keep the chase away. So, yeah.
It feels like this season you've come on in the technical aspect of your climbing. Is that something you've been looking into?
Yes, definitely. Oscar's helped me so much. Been working a lot on the technical, and yeah, I think it's coming together a little bit more, but yeah, still a lot to work on.
Amazing, well done.
Thank you.
Isabella Homrren, cool, calm and collected, offering some really, really good insight there as to how her race unfolded. Made some big time on descents. Let's check out the lap comparison then. And there are some, I was going to say big numbers, tiny numbers in there. Ollie lap 2, 3, 5 and 6 all going to the Canadian. Ella McPhee though, great racecraft. Look how much faster she went in the last lap to get on the podium.
But that lap 5, 9:40, fastest lap of the race. That was the attack.
Well, Valentina Corvy, second place today, superb. She's down there now.
Valentina, congratulations. You're bettering your result from last week. You're now in second. What was the improvement this week?
Yeah, today I felt strong from the beginning. I tried to stay with Isabella, and then after the half of race, I have to go with my speed, and yeah, but I'm so happy today, and yeah, second, and yeah, super strong, yeah.
Isabella said you were both working together for a long time. What did that entail? What does that mean?
Yeah, we stayed together for the first 2 or 3 laps, and then yeah, she felt strong and she went. But yeah, working together is of course better, and yeah, I'm happy to stay with her, and yeah.
Lap 5, she managed to pull away from you. What happened?
Yeah, sincerely, she was stronger than me in the climb, so I continued with my speed, with my rhythm, and yeah, I tried to manage the race until the end.
Still a fantastic result. How pleased are you with what you've managed to achieve here in Brazil?
Yeah, I'm so happy for sure. 3 podium also with the XCC races is something for sure amazing for me. So let's see for the next stages in Nove Mesto and the other World Cups.
Can't wait. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Valentina Corvy. Cannot wait to go racing yet again. Take Holmgren out of it. Class of the field today, Corvy. By some stretch, she'll take big confidence from that. Here's what that means for the World Cup overall standings in. Holmgren leads the way by 101 points from Corvy. Then it's McPhee. And then a really close battle between McLean Hoyle, Tyler Jacobs, Sarah Korten-Novis, Katarina Sadlik behind them. Well, Ella McPhee looked like she had to do it the hard way today. She's down there now.
Ella, congratulations. Another brilliant result here for you in Brazil, but a battle for third place with Sarah Korten-Novis. Talk us through that battle.
Yeah, Sarah was so strong today. I was just like holding in as much as I could to her wheel on the climbs, and then I was able to get some gaps on the descents, which really helped me in that battle today.
When you see Isabella and Valentina breaking away from the group, how hard is it to stay in the game and stay confident?
Yeah, it was hard for me today because I was never really there from the start. I had a crash in the first 2 laps, so that made it hard, and I just had to try and pull back time as the race went on. But they're so strong, and I hope to be able to fight up there too at some point.
And what does that show to you personally about your character, that you can crash on a course like this and still pull off a result like third?
Yeah, it makes me feel like a fighter. Like, it feels really good to be able to push back towards the end, even when things go wrong in the beginning.
And how do you sum up your time here in Brazil? You've had a cracking couple of weeks.
Oh my gosh, it's incredible. I love the people here, the experience at the World Cup, and I'm really happy and excited to come back.
Amazing. Well done today.
Thank you.
Ella McPhee, like Valentina Corvy, super impressive. Take nothing away from her. Great racecraft, weathering the storm that was Sarah Kortanova's late race pace. She'll be the first rider out onto the podium. Ella McPhee from Willier Vittoria, covered in mud. Yeah, and there's nothing that stains kit, or dare I say running trainers, Ollie, like the mud here in Araxá. It's long, got the job done.
Yeah.
Long, got the job done.
Yeah. Through XCO podiums this week, in the last 2 weekends, and cementing herself as a favourite in this category.
Valentina Corvy goes one spot higher than she did at round one. Would fancy going one spot higher again when we race again in Novo Mesto na Morave in the Czech Republic in a month or so's time.
Really strong race from Corvy.
It's a fantastic four from Isabella Homrren, undefeated in Brazil, just as Kira Baum was last year. Homrren takes the victory here in Araxá.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I mean, Corvy took it to her today, put pressure under her, but say Homrren now looking a real complete package. Last year we knew she was so strong on the climbs, but technically had issues, but this year come back so strong. A-lines, both courses, both weekends, absolutely smashing it.
Well, there aren't many better ways for a bike racer to cool down than with champagne on the top step off a podium. 50 seconds then the gap between Homrren and Corvy, but 30 seconds the gap between Corvy and McPhee. Maybe the bigger question being asked, Olivia Nestle 4 minutes 52 back in 14th, not the race that she or BH will have wanted.
Yeah, looked like an issue for McLean Howard as well. Unfortunately, she was holding 5th, but dropping back to 19th at the end, whether we saw a crash on the last lap. Hope she's okay.
Yeah, maybe 6 minutes or so down there for McLean Howell. We'll bring you an update if we get one. But it is getting hotter and hotter here. You will notice a distinct lack of clouds in the sky here in Araxá. The last couple of days, by far the hottest it's been in the last 2 weeks we've been here. Isabella Homrren, perhaps unsurprisingly, takes the UCI World Cup overall points leaders jersey home with her. 100 or so points the difference, 101 points between her and Corvy. Then it's McPhee, McLean Howell, Jacobs, Kortanova, Sadnik, Low, Salvini, Morgan and Onesti. Well, plenty more racing to come today. Men's under 23, always fireworks, getting ready to go here in Araxá, Brazil. Don't go anywhere. This one is going to be an absolute belter. We'll see you soon.